Okay. Ocarina of Time, table talk.
Yeah, you beat Ocarina of Time, your first Zelda game.
My actual first Zelda game where I played start to finish, instead of start and then fuck around for 5 to 10 hours and then leave.
You want to get your entire rant out of the way about the controls first, or you want to just sprinkle it in as we're talking? I recommend just getting it out now.
All right, I feel like 90% of my issues with the controls in this game is because I'm not using that. I'm not using a 3-pronged N64 controller that has simply one stick. The C buttons are actual buttons. There's only A and B. There's a start button, and there's only one left and right, and the Z button is right there on your hand the entire time when you have the stick. This game, it was completely designed around that controller layout, and converting that over to a more traditional controller layout that we have now in the year of our Lord 2025 doesn't work at all.
Yeah, no, I get that feeling.
No,
I just couldn't grasp it at first because like my brain was having such a hard time detaching it. Because again, every time I replay it, the last 3 or 4 times I played it, it was on a 3DS, which was built to work on a 3DS control scheme. The second I was fighting something, I was like, "Oh, you saw me!" I was like, "Let me fight something." Oh, I'm sorry, hold on, let me fight something.
Yeah, and I hate, like, I lived so long using claw grips. I played a ton of Monster Hunter on the PSP, and if you want to talk about the game that enforces a claw, like mandatory claw grip, it's a Monster Hunter game on the PSP. I hate that. I messed up my hands doing that, and I never want to go back. So, I mean, I have a new controller to avoid claw grips because of back buttons. I love the introduction of back buttons, and I wish that they would become more of a prevalent thing on modern controls now, and hopefully we can move forward into something better. That said,
now, if you got any more rants about controls, keep coming.
I fucking wish there was a way to control that fucking camera.
Yeah, it's kind of rough.
Like, I know
because there was no camera stick back then when they were first inventing it. That's why the camera did its own thing most of the time. Like if you go to a ledge, it'll look down for you and all that jazz. Yeah, that sucks.
You wouldn't have the camera mapped to the right stick, even like on the PS1. Throughout all the PS1, when you had the first DualShock, and through most of the life cycle of the PS2, the right stick was not used for camera a lot of the time. Until like halfway through the PS2's life, did developers start saying like, "Oh, hey, this actually makes a lot of sense if we just put camera control mapped to this right analog stick." But I really wish that I had actual control over this camera. Trying to link up for like, oh, you have to precisely move this. Not being able to just hold down the button like most even Zelda games today, and I know why they went into this because it wasn't present here. It's hold down the Z button, or not the Z button, but the L button or LZ button, and you are locked in. Why does that not lock you into moving so you can move left and right in strafe and line up your shot or line up something? Trying to pivot link was so annoying.
You should be able to do that if you Z target nothing.
If I was Z targeting, yes. But all right. So that last dungeon outside of Ganondorf.
Oh, you mean when you had to try to shoot something? If you just had the first person, whatever. Yeah. No, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I could have swore you could, but I'm assuming you tried. It must have been in the game after this one.
Yeah.
Because I remember doing that, and it comes like, oh, I'm just trying to line it up. I'm just trying to line it up. Just need to scooch real quick.
Yeah.
No, I got you. Yeah, no, that's ass. That's ass.
There's a lot of good things about this game, but like, as someone with absolutely no nostalgia, it is as raw as it comes right now, and like, it's a fun game. It's got an interesting story. I was not expecting as much humor coming out of this game as I thought that there was, and like I can see why this, like, it's not the first entry of a series like, wow, I can't believe this got sequels. Like, no, I completely understand why this got sequels. If this was your first Zelda game, I could see why you're like, I want to play another one. I can perfectly see why you would do that. But coming back to it now with no nostalgia goggles on, it's like, boy, it shows its age. It shows its age right on its wrist.
Yeah. Ocarina of Time version is the roughest one to play. Like I said, that's always why I always played a 3DS version, because it's just so much smoother.
Going in and navigating menus, the fact that you can't use a D-pad. The N64 has a D-pad.
That does nothing.
It does nothing. It has absolutely nothing. Versus, like, if I hit the start button and then I just move my hand off the stick over to that D-pad and then just maneuver, and that's how you get around the menu, that'd be so much nicer than having to just rely on the stick and then it's like, oh, the D-pad does nothing.
Because that's the thing about the N64 controller. You look at it right there. When you're playing Ocarina of Time, you're using the middle of the controller and the right.
Yeah.
That's why L didn't do anything, because you had Z as your L. R was your R, Z was your L.
Oh, yeah.
That you're using the right side of the controller. That's why the D-pad did nothing. That's why the L trigger did nothing.
Yeah.
Then there's other N64 games that you can play where it's the exact opposite, where you're holding the buttons and you're holding the D-pad.
And there's no analog stick.
And there's no analog thing whatsoever. The Z is nothing at that point. That's just how it was with that controller. It was fucking weird.
This entire console is just fucked.
But if that's enough ranting, let's talk about all the stuff you loved about it.
I liked the combat was actually a lot more intuitive than I thought. Barring my issues with the lock on. With the Z.
Yeah, so the minor spoiler for it is that you don't have a fairy for doing your Z targeting. They just make it so, like, if you're looking in that direction and there's an enemy and you hit the thing, you lock onto that thing. Okay. You don't have to be like, because what it is, right, so technically is the only wasn't being over there. That's why it didn't lock onto the Z
only other Zelda game that is on the N64 that is like this would be Majora's Mask. So that's where they brought that in.
And I think they made the fairy a little bit nicer, because I don't remember having this much issue with Majora's Mask.
But like, all right, that one fight where you tried it and then you just aced the fight afterwards, like I swear to God, I was trying to lock onto him and he would not. He was like, every time I try to lock on, it's like, oh, you're now looking way over there, but the hand's on the other side of you, so it's just going to sideswipe you and then grab you, and then you're going to be flown off the platform.
I almost got a couple times, you saw, but having played it so many times, it was used to the muscle memory of the fairy thing, where it's like, I looked over there and I'm like, I'm trying to Z-target the thing. When I'm doing that, I'm not just thinking, all right, I'm looking in that direction, I'm pushing the Z button, I should be locking onto the thing. If I don't see Navi going over there, I already know it's not going to work. But that's something I don't even think about anymore.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah.
How did you like the cast of characters? Main cast
and
otherwise?
Was pretty good. The side characters, I think, is what really. I think the main cast is actually very, very weak. The main cast being Zelda / Sheik, Navi, Link.
Ganondorf.
And Ganondorf. I think those are the weakest characters out of all of them. I think meeting who are eventually going to be the 6 stages, those are your shining stars. I think the side characters next to them are what bring people back to this series. Is like, when you get a Zelda game, you're expecting
a colorful cast of fucking characters.
And by the end of the game, you're like, Link fucking who?
Link is just supposed to be you.
Yeah,
you are just there talking to people or listening to people.
Link is a silent protagonist that is a stand-in for you as the player. I understand that.
Yeah.
But like, holy shit, no one gives a fuck.
No, that's why it's hard to just paint Link on a that's why the most characterization Link has is his shit in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Being on the outside, I thought people were really excited for Zelda. I thought Zelda would have been a much larger character. I thought that Link would have been a much larger character somehow, which I was always confused as but he's a silent character. He doesn't speak. Mm-hmm. How is he a larger character? I thought there'd be a lot more emotes or something. But it's like, aside from his face going from nothing to N64 version of, oh my god, it was nothing. It was like, I was actually
trying to talk to Sheik.
Yeah,
or
I was really surprised at how
Tree
little
died, and Link doesn't do much in a lot of the older games.
Yeah. If I can say one more bad thing, fuck the swimming in this game. Oh my god.
Don't worry.
Combine that with how you are getting around in the menus to just walk around. Oh my God. Fuck that.
Yeah. No, like I said, this is the Genesis. They do not take the bad parts and go forward because obviously that would be bad. In Majora's Mask, you do have the water dungeon in that one. Some people are like, dude, this freaking thing is just as bad as the water dungeon the other thing. It's like, okay, you can say that, but A, you're not trying to find keys that are 15 miles away from the thing. And like I told you earlier, when you have the powers of being a Zora swims way better than a person in water.
Way better. You have so
way much more control.
Slow while moving in the water.
And restricted.
It is restricted. It is absolutely restricted.
Yep.
I mean, just trying to fight anything with the hook shot or the long shot underwater, having to learn that I have to first
pull it out.
First Z target, because if you use that when you're not Z targeted, you're going to go in first person, which is going to lock your feet, which when you're fighting those razor clamshells, if you lock your feet, you're good as just getting hit, and which is going to knock you back, which is going to knock you into a 5-second animation of just like, well, I got knocked down. Let me get back up underwater, dust myself off, and then get back ready. And oh, look, there's another razor clam, maybe the same one, coming straight for my fucking neck.
Yep.
So I'm glad to hear that they fixed that, but like, oh my God,
I got
the
you.
less water I had to deal with, the better.
Yeah, no, it's completely understandable. So what did you think about the dungeons then? If we got the characters done, if there's nothing else you need to say about the characters, you liked all the villagers, you liked the side quest people.
Yeah,
everybody had a personality.
They had even the side character, like some of the shopkeepers.
They had personality.
The guy that was selling potions, the one time that we saw him was like, yeah, he looks like he's just like he'd be a kind of fun guy. The guy selling the masks was actually kind of. He was
eccentric,
fun. Yeah, he was a little eccentric.
And then the guy who's fishing.
Yeah, the fishing guy. He seemed like that is the guy that you want as a fishing attendant in the game.
Yep.
The dungeons, there are definitely some that are a lot stronger than others, and the water temple, without you Sherpaing me and showing me where to go and mostly where to go, and like, hey, just save yourself 10 minutes, and just go through this, just turn around and look up, or just dive down where that block blew up. I'm just like, thank you for that, because otherwise I would, this entire day would have just been spent banging my head against a water temple.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But do you see, now that you've done all of them, the Zelda flow of get the theme and then get the thing that you get inside the thing, and then that's how they make the dungeons? Like, all of them have a very strong theme. Like the very first dungeon, you're inside a tree, so what do you expect to run into? You're going to be climbing up. The walls are made out of wood. Yeah. Bugs like to be inside of trees, shit like that. Are you going down? So there's a lot more dirt. There's roots and shit like that in the way.
I think the was it this? Yeah, there was the Spirit Temple. I think was the strongest.
Spirit Temple's great.
Yeah, the Spirit Temple I think was the strongest. It was a little long in the tooth for a little bit. I think I do like that a lot of the dungeons and the temples you would backtrack on yourself for where you're going and what you're doing. But I think the Spirit Temple did that a little too much. But I still think it was the strongest overall with what it was asking you to do and the variety of how it was making you think about the concept.
Mm-hmm. What was your was your second and third favorite then?
Second favorite, I think, is gonna be the fire volcano, not the fire temple.
Aww.
The volcano.
Damn.
When you're a kid, I think that was actually kind of interesting.
Damn. Beats the fire temple of all
things. It
does. The cave was. You were half asleep when you were doing the cave.
Yes. What else?
Then give me your third. What's your third?
My third would actually be the entire ending Ganondorf Castle.
It's pretty good.
I think having just real quick, you have one room, you have two rooms max, and you're just doing like just real quick, like here's this theme. Yes, I think that was the appropriate thing. Obviously, worst one, Water Temple. Second worst one, I do not like that whale.
You don't like being inside of Lord Jabu's belly?
I did not like the Jabu thing. I think the ending boss fight in the Jabu was among the more interesting.
Yes.
But
Yes.
the entire thing of getting through it was just really annoying.
Mm-hmm. No, it's okay. It's almost like you shouldn't be inside a whale's stomach and doing things.
And then honestly, I think the Korok tree, not the Korok tree, that's
The Great Deku Tree.
the Great Deku Tree, I think was my third least favorite. But I think that's simply on the basis of like it's so simple.
Yeah.
But I mean, it has to be that simple because it is your very first step into it.
Yes. Do you have dungeons aside? Do you have a favorite boss? Separating the boss from the dungeon, do you have a favorite dungeon boss?
Favorite boss? Oh, who was there? The I did not like the parasite at the end of the Deku Tree. Mm-hmm. I thought the volcano boss running around in a circle.
Dodongo? King Dodongo?
Yeah, Dodongo, he was fun. King Dodongo. I did not like the mid boss in the King Dodongo one.
The fuck was the mid boss in the King Dodongo one?
You had the platform in the center that you had to run around. He was like chasing you. It was like the mask thing.
The mask thing? I don't think there was mid bosses in the first 3 dungeons though. That's what I'm trying to think.
What am I thinking of then?
If you talk about the thing that jumps out of the fire, that's in the fire temple. The dancer?
Might be the dancer.
Yeah, because it was that was fine. You definitely
there were like spikes around the thing.
Oh no, you're talking about that. That wasn't the fire temple. You're talking about the Octorok inside of Jabu Jabu's belly.
Yes, fuck that thing.
Yeah, no, that was gimmicky as shit.
Yeah. Again, like
that was a
could not get the Z targeting to work, and that hurt a lot.
Yeah.
But no, I think my favorite bosses would probably be the Dongo. I was expecting a lot more from the Ganon fight. The first phase of it just being, basically playing tennis with Ganon. As funny as it is when it broke, I had to have hit it back and forth about 15 times before just like, all right, fuck this. But
that was over 20.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, no, that there's a trend starting in, actually not even starting in, it's actually starting in Link to the Past, when you got to go and fight the boss after the first couple of things. You have to use the Master Sword because he tries to throw a ball of thing at you, but it's a 2D plane or whatever, and you have to knock it back at him a couple of times to do the thing. But it's like, you get a butterfly net in that game, and when you use it, you just spin in a 360 because you're trying to catch a butterfly or a bee or whatever. But you can use that also to bat back lightning or whatever. That was just like, so they started from that, and it's like there's always a weird one of your items after that. They always intentionally make it bugged so that it'll work. When you fight Ganondorf in Twilight Princess, it's a sword fight because he has a sword in that one, and you're like, yeah, let's do this duel thing. You could whip out your fishing rod.
Oh God.
You can whip out your fishing rod with a fishing lure and everything, and you take it, and he's looking at you because you're like, you whip it out, and he's like, okay. But then you take it, and you just go, and you cast it. He's like, but he's looking at it, so you can immediately just go in and stab him.
That's
great.
great.
It's so fucking funny. I've never done that before, but I was like, I think Snarf would appreciate the fact that an empty bottle would do this. So
also, the empty bottle makes volleying it so much nicer because if you're standing still with the Master Sword, even though it's faster, it's a downward slash, which means you have a very narrow point of view where the sword is actually in the way to hit it. And with the Dodoron or Bigoron sword, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. It's an angular slash, but you still have a very tiny window. Versus the bottle, it's a horizontal slash, so you have that entire arc that is knocking it back.
That's what you're supposed to do in that fight. It when you do the Phantom Ganon fight, it throws you off because you can lock on it because Navi's not afraid. If you had the Master Sword and you can't lock on, remember, if you don't lock on, he does the horizontal slash. But I knew you were going to like the empty bottle thing.
No, the empty bottle was great.
The fight against Ganondorf,
I did appreciate that the second phase was a real sword fight.
Yeah. He had 2 swords. You had to get in there. You got to watch out. If you didn't have the Bigoron sword, you'd have to use the hammer on his tail. You'd have to keep smacking it. And as long as you don't lock on, you do the roll. So a lot of the times, just like you just keep watching him. And as you're watching him and you see him just go, huh! That's when you just roll underneath him real quick, and then you could bonk him on his tail. It's really cool. Okay. Any other good fights that stand out? Bongo Bongo, Twin Rova.
Damn, like Twin Rova.
Volvagia.
I think Twin Rova, as long as you're not, the first phase of Twin Rova hurt.
Yeah.
With Kuma and Kota?
Kotake.
Kotake?
Kotaku.
Yeah.
Kotake.
Kotake and Kuma or Ruma or
Kome.
The first part of that, simply, I think it was just bad because, like, half the time when one of them is sending theirs and you have to deflect it over to the other, that is a terrible control scheme. Not just because it's inverted for me, but it's also, like, it is so hard to gauge where that beam actually is hitting with the depth perception. And the other half of the time, they wouldn't be there. So there'd be like 3 or 4 strikes where you just there's nothing for you to do except just block the beam.
Would you like the
second half of that fight though? I thought was really good. Having to pick
right
one,
thing.
stick with it, dodge when they're be able to guess in like that
that
half
split second where she's like doing this and then she just goes
yeah, the half second she pulls up both hands, like, is she gonna drop the right hand or the left hand? Which one? That was a good fight. It wasn't the most inventive, but I was like, this is good, this is fun. I think that also helps bring the Spirit Temple higher up on my list because it's like the ending fight.
It's a good fight.
Yeah.
People love the Twin Rova fight.
Fuck that water temple boss though.
Amorphous.
Oh my god, the second arm coming out of nowhere and then just like, oh nope, fuck you, buddy. It's like,
you dodged the second arm. Here's the third arm.
God.
Phantom
Ganondorf I liked
as like the first boss when you're an adult.
Yeah, the first boss as an adult. That was a good. I was not expecting to fight Ganon that early. I didn't realize he had a Phantom version.
It comes up a lot. He does what he does because he's just one of those kinds of villains where he loves, like, when the hero is like, aha, I'm gonna beat you, and he's just like, and he sends his shadow after you first just to make sure you can fight him.
There's one fight that I was hoping that that would have been in the game that wasn't, and that was an actual boss fight against a Gerudo lady.
Like, it was just those guards. That was the only
it was just the guards, and it's like, and
then the mages.
You have this, and then it's like, you're trying to unlock and free the prisoner, and then the guard found you. Have a quick little duel.
How did you like that section? You seem to be enjoying it when you did it. Sneaking through and unlocking the thing.
If I had a second right analog stick to control a camera, it'd be better. But honestly, for where it was, when it got to the point where it was like, I can just kind of sneak up behind them and smack. I thought there was going to be a lot more sneaking.
You thought it'd be more in depth.
I thought it'd be a lot more in depth. And maybe that's just on me for being on a Metal Gear Solid kick lately.
Yes.
But I did enjoy that section. But I just wanted more from the Gerudos. I think they were underutilized in this game.
Everybody loves the Gerudos. Don't worry, you get more Gerudos in other games.
I know I get more Gerudos, but I'm looking forward to it. But I was on, like, with how much people celebrate Gerudos in the games that I have heard about, is like, where are they? I'm just in this game. I'm like, where are they?
That was a solid showing of the Gerudos. I'm trying to remember which ones had the more interesting Gerudo ones. I mean, they still show up in Majora's Mask. So, yeah, no, that was a strong showing. It's nothing wrong to be like, I wanted more. That means you liked what was there. You just wanted more of it, which is fine.
Yeah.
So ever since we're talking about the Gerudos, what'd you think about all the fantasy races in this Zelda thing? Gorons, Kokairi, Zoras, Gerudos, and Hylians, I guess. People.
Hylians and Kokairi could be the same goddamn thing, in my mind. Just,
you don't like all those guards. You don't like them cool ass guards, people in the towns and blah blah blah. Okay, keep going.
Towns. There was one town and one city.
Yeah, 2 towns.
That was it.
One city until they burned it. Anyway, Goron, Zoras, what do you think?
The Gorons were fun. A little, like, honestly, the Zoras, I think I know Zoras can get a lot more interesting, just because of what I've seen in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And I don't think there's any bird people.
Not in this one.
Yeah, not in this one. So they come later on. The Gorons, I was expecting more. Like, I wanted more from the Gorons. I didn't care.
They show up a lot.
I didn't care so much about the Zoras, but I was hoping for more of the Gorons. Just as I was hoping for more from the Gerudos, I also hoped for more of the Gorons. But the Gorons, like, they stay in their area and then they just fuck off.
Yeah, the Gorons do show up a lot because they're kind of a fan favorite. The Zoras, I liked the showing of the Zoras they had in Ocarina of Time, but like I've said like a bajillion times at this point, it was exactly at Majora's Mask. What they did with the Zoras, Majora's Mask, after that, the Zoras took off. Because they were like, how do we make a fish civilization that's not just fish people?
The next
and
Zelda
then they go,
game.
okay, oceanography, bones, you can play them like xylophones, so music. Let's do music, let's do ocean stuff. Let's do ocean stuff. Also, oceans is pirates. We'll have Zora pirates. They do interesting things with Zoras after this.
I am really interested now in what they do with the Zoras in Wind Waker. I'm looking forward to how they do that. I'm interested in what's gonna happen with fucking the Gorons in there or the Gerudos. I don't know how they would set up, but I'm looking forward to Wind Waker. But in terms of this game, like, I feel like a lot of them just it was a lot shorter of a game as well. This game was a lot shorter than I thought. I thought there would be a larger world.
Yeah, like I said before, the Zelda game before this, which was Link to the Past, having now run through it again because it's been a hot minute even since I played like 3DS thing like that. It's like the world is so goddamn huge in Link to the Past. And then they do the thing where it's like you went everywhere. Cool, I think I've been everywhere, but there's like a tiny spot where I haven't done it. And then they go Dark World. The same thing, but now there's a dark version of everything and it gets inverted, stuff changes around, and then you're like, oh, there's so much world. Now I have 2 entire world maps. It's the same feeling you had when you went to the Underground in Tears of the Kingdom, but there's a lot more in the Dark World in Link to the Past than there was in the Dark World in Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really weird that like playing, it's like, man, it just felt bigger when I was 7 years old. The map is like, it feels like the map is like kind of bigger in Majora's Mask, which is kind of silly to say.
The lake region, like maybe we just didn't do much in the lake, but the lake region felt like just completely
big old thing of water.
It was just completely underutilized. It was like, oh, it felt more like, look at what we can kind of do with the N64, but knowing how poorly N64 games run, it's like, oh, you probably stepped into this on original hardware, and it was like chugging along at 14 frames. It was just because of how large it is.
Back then, everything was usually a pretty good frame rate because everything was so fucking poorly pixelated and all that jazz. What other thing to talk about? Fighting the controls aside, you like the tools and equipment system they got going? I know it could be a little bit smoother in terms of quality of life, but you have different armors that do stuff. You have different swords and shields for doing things. If
there was an easier way to swap between them, I think I would be trying them out more. But I mean, honestly, like, if I wasn't in a fire area, I was going to put on the blue tunic because the blue tunic has the most utility of all. And the green tunic is like, what's the green tunic do?
The green tunic means you don't have to accidentally lose a $500 tunic by getting eaten by a like.
Yeah, but I just have rewind, so.
Yeah, no, they in some Zelda games they do have outfits that do stuff.
Yeah, I know they have those, so I'm looking forward to how that.
Same thing for weapons
continues
and all that stuff. But the equipment, the tools, and stuff like that.
The equipment and tools
boomerang,
were interesting.
boomerang.
I wish you just could get a boomerang. There are some instances where it's like, I don't want to use the hook shot. I just want to boomerang this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you're not dealing with the whole "I'm a kid now, I'm a squid now," I mean, I'm an adult now. It's a lot better, which is 95% of the rest of the Zelda game. So that's it. Like, if there's a boomerang in the thing, Link can use it. Doesn't matter. Link can use
I've played a little bit of Twilight Princess, so I know the thing in that game is you literally turn into a wolf. Mm-hmm. So like, it makes sense why I can't use my shit. I'm a wolf. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. But for all the other games, it's like, why are you taking equipment that you're making me get used to and then taking it away without giving me a specific alternative for it? It's like, oh, but we did give you an alternative. It was like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't. Yeah, you know, we get you a straight shot, hook shot thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is just what Snarf likes doing, Aaron. He likes doing a podcast thing in case people want to know his thoughts on games. That's just how it goes.
How I wrap up LPs.
Yeah, that way it's a good way to totalitize and collect his thoughts, so he has a more concrete thing. So somebody doesn't walk up and like, hey, I saw you beat Ocarina of Time. What did you think about this?
It's a nice little summry of at the end.
He knows what he thinks instead of just like, oh shit, I never thought about that. Let me think about that for a minute. Yeah. Okay, characters, world,
music was
setting.
fun.
Music solid.
Music was pretty solid. There were some tunes that just didn't go with me at all.
It's kind of like it's kind of like Super Metroid, where it's like, if 90% of the music was great, 10%,
yeah, yeah. There were some that just grated on my fucking ears, though.
Yeah, no, I got you.
But I think that's just the limitation of the N64 with how little music they could. Because again, my first console was a PS1. I had no nostalgia or appreciation for like, all the music on this system is being made by a MIDI chip, a sound chip. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you could get disc or CD quality soundtracks then as my first console was like, wow, why would you want to listen to anything else? Why would you want anything else in your video games? Like, well, other games couldn't have that.
Yeah, we just grew up with different things.
Yeah.
I have nostalgia for like NES. Yeah, I have nostalgia for NES songs and SNES songs. They were just like beep, boop, boop, bop, boop, boop, bop.
So.
And the LP. The other thing I was going to say, and you already gave me your thoughts because I asked a couple times, but just so it's here in the TalkCast thing, how did you like the undocumented side quests?
Undocumented side quests were fun if you weren't. I think they were a little too undocumented. I like the way that these are undocumented side quests make Dark Souls look like they're giving you a pamphlet to follow.
It's one of those things where back in the day, even if you weren't a kid and you were back in the day, you were a teenager or a fucking young adult, call me crazy for saying I got the nostalgia goggles on. Life was simpler back then.
No, but the reason
you had the time to talk to somebody and they just go, hey man, like if you didn't do anything at the Lon Ranch thing and you went to, when you were an adult and you go to Kakariko, you would have ran into Talon.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, what's up with him? It's like, oh man, there's some bad stuff going on at the ranch. I heard some really bad shit happening. You would have had to have organically been like, I guess I can go investigate that.
Yeah, you could do that, but also the reason they have no quest log in this kind of game is this is still during the age when game guides and strategy guides were still being sold.
They could sell you the Nintendo power.
They could sell you the Nintendo power. You had what was the other company that
Game Informer?
Game Informer was one, but there was a different company that did a range of strategy guides for everyone.
The person who did the strategy guides back then, I think it was that Prima Games, right?
Prima Games, yeah. So it was like, this was for Nintendo to sell you their official strategy guide. This was for Prima Games. Like, did you know this about N64? Buy our $40 book. Which, those strategy guides are interesting and fun, and it's kind of a shame that the Internet of Things has killed strategy guides. Because, like, to be honest, I like the idea of strategy guides because it's a nice keepsake, honestly. It's a nice little documentation of everything that's in the game.
I don't have much left in my logbook of stuff. I do still have my Prima strategy guide for Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
Very, very well worn. But yeah, that was one of those things where it's like, I didn't have the guide. That's why I kept saying like every 5 seconds, I'm like, I asked Will in biology class or whatever what the fuck I was supposed to do here because I didn't know. He had the guide or somebody else had the guide and I could just talk to them about it. Yeah, no. I like the undocumented side quests. They had some pretty damn good rewards.
Yeah, like
Biggoron sword.
Honestly,
Jesus Christ.
some of the the Biggoron sword specifically is like some of those like if you didn't get this, what kind of game are you playing?
You're playing the game at you're swinging your sword. You're swinging your little Kairi sword. You're playing the game on slow.
Yes.
You swing the Master Sword. You're playing at normal speed. You swing the Biggoron sword. You're playing at double speed.
And I did appreciate that as like, hey, do you want to sacrifice some
defense,
a lot of your defense, but just to allow for a gameplay style that I appreciate, which is just be aggressive, go in hard and don't give them an inch. It's like, yeah, I think that is the superior way to play a Zelda game.
Yeah. Yep. It's cool.
Yeah.
Anything else? Talked about music, talked about characters, talked about setting. You like I guess quickly about the setting, because we talked about the dungeons and locations. How do you like it as a fantasy setting for something like Hyrule? You get the whole thing with the three goddesses, the sacred realm, and all that jazz. You kind of get the fantasy thing they're going for.
Up some stuff, but if it's Ocarina of Time as a vertical slice, there's not much there for me.
No, that I know. That's why I'm asking. Like in a broad Legend of Zelda thing, you get because they usually tell that story or a very similar story depending on the game.
If I saw Ocarina of Time, I would not be looking at another Zelda. I would be looking at another Zelda game. Like, oh yeah, I know that there's going to be some cool dungeons. I know that there's going to be some funny side characters. I know there's going to be
the Triforce exists
somewhere. I could not give a shit about the Triforce or the Sages, but I know that there's a cast of characters I'm gonna like. I know there's a good game. There's going to be some solid foundations of gameplay of like how you interact with things that are going to be there. There's going to be some puzzles that are some more bullshit than others, but still some decent puzzles there. The setting is not something that was driving me in this game. Like I couldn't care about the land of Hyrule or the Zora's Kingdom or the Death
Legend
Mountain.
of the Three Goddesses.
Yeah,
okay. I think it's a really good fantasy setting. I know there's better. But
I guess I just see it as like overly generic fantasy. Like this is your milquetoast kind of like. Yeah, we read Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's your like cookie cutter fantasy, which like Zelda is cookie cutter fantasy. At the end of the day, they're not trying. Like I think that's why everyone was like, oh, we need a big dark adult fantasy game, and that's what Twilight Princess was. Like, yeah, no, that's not what I want to come to Zelda for.
You'll see once you start playing more Zelda games. It's not an ocean, but it is a little bit deeper than what Ocarina of Time has showed you.
Mm-hmm.
And once I started getting the broader strokes of like the story, it's just really cool. Whenever you play another Zelda game and something gets brought up, there is sometimes you're just like, okay, I know how this works.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the characters that are playing the game, that are in the game, don't. But you're like, I know how this works. I know exactly how this fucking works.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what the Dark World is in Link to the Past. Is, as they said, if somebody of pure heart or a nice person touches it, we get cool shit happening. If a bad person touches it, the sacred realm gets turned into a realm of darkness. That's what the Dark World is. That's the sacred realm, but somebody bad touched it, so it perversed everything and made it all gross and disgusting. So when you see shit like that, you're like, ooh, interesting. And then the whole thing with the if somebody tries to touch the Triforce and they don't, or they're not balanced in power, wisdom, and courage, it splits up to the three people that.
Which honestly sounds like a cop-out, being like, okay, who's actually balanced in power? Because obviously Zelda's not balanced in power and courage. She has wisdom. Ganondorf isn't balanced in wisdom or courage, so he has power. And Link is neither wise or powerful, so he's courageous. So it's like, who exactly... The Triforce is just aliens. Like, let's just think about it. Like, the Triforce is just aliens.
I'm sure you've heard about more. I'm sure you've heard of just as equally bizarre and hand-wavy stuff. Bird magic.
Yeah.
Nintendo does love its weird-ass things. But I do like what the Triforce, whatever they use the Triforce for meta reasons and or story reasons.
I guess they just...
For Link's thing with always getting the Triforce of Courage, I like that as a meta thing because it shows why this kid, whoever you're playing as, is willing to do these absolutely batshit things to save the day. And then I always pop off every time Ganondorf has the Triforce of Power and like some bullshit happens and it's just like, Triforce of Power, bitch. Because like one of the Zelda games, I think it's like one of the Zelda games. I can't remember which one it is. They were like, okay, fuck this guy, and this was like nobody had touched the Triforce of Power yet. They're like, this guy, we're gonna kill his ass. because Ganondorf, we know he's bad. We're going to go kill him. So they try to kill him. And as they try to kill him, he's like, ugh! And then all of a sudden, you just see his hand light up. And you see the top triangle light up. And as the people watching it, you're just like, Triforce of Power. And then like he just gets blessed with the Triforce of Power because he's just still that powerful. And yeah, then he has the Triforce of Power in that moment. And you're just like, oh, you guys, it's like the freaking Mark Ruffalo thing in the Endgame. It's like, oh, you guys are so screwed now. Because then he's like, I went from an all-powerful Chad warrior warlock who dominated the Gerudo race with aspirations of having greater things to an all-powerful Chad warlock with superpowers. And you're like, uh-oh.
I don't know, I guess when I want a fantasy kind of genre in this, like I like there to be a little bit more mystery to what there is in the world. And I guess everything that was presented before me in Ocarina of Time, it was it wore everything on its sleeve. It wore everything right on its sleeve.
It's a pretty straightforward.
And that's fine. Like that is the kind of game that Nintendo.
This is the baseline.
Yeah, that's the kind of game that Nintendo set out to make with Ocarina of Time. So you kind of expect it, and it needed to wear everything on its sleeve. But when I want a fantasy setting to draw me in, I want a little bit up the sleeve. I want a little bit hidden from me to pull that mystery in. And I guess I just don't see how there would be any mystery involved with anything right now with Zelda. Later games, that will change, I am sure. But right now, it's like, yeah, with what we saw in Ocarina of Time, it is face value and there's nothing deeper.
And one of the other many other reasons why I really wanted you to just play Ocarina of Time is because this is where it starts. This is where it branches. Especially, it's like when we go into Wind Waker, I'm just gonna be sitting here enjoying Wind Waker, and you're just like, here we go again. Oh, they started talking about it. Sages, Triforce, Sword. Here we go, and I'll be like, yep, exactly how you think it is.
For a score,
go ahead, and give us a score to run this out.
I'll give I will be put up on a cross. I think it's a solid 6-8.
I was going to guess you were going to give it a 7.
I want to give it a 7, but the controls, then just some of the dungeons layouts, there's a lot of things that there's a lot of friction there. And I know you need friction to make sparks of genius, but sometimes that friction just slows you down too much. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I really like it. I think this is something that would be something that you would want to introduce to someone. But if someone's already ingrained in how modern games play, I think that's just going to increase the amount of friction that they're going to experience going back to this.
Yeah.
What is your score after seeing
it again?
Ocarina of Time in 2025.
I'd still say it's an 8 or a 9.
8 or 9.
8 or a 9. Play the remake. Play the 3DS.
Play a better version.
play the 3DS remake though. That is absolutely what I saw when I was watching you play it. It's still an 8 or a 9, but I'm still rating it on what I played.
You need a little bit of quality of life in there.
You just just a little tiny 10-gallon bucket of quality of life.
Just get a little can of WD-40. Just a little one.
It's like a whole 6-pack, actually.